Und es ist wieder auf Nissen, es ist Rev Yomtev, die größte Inyanim, es ist Yomtev allein. Und bei Meile wird man annehmen, wer es ist da, und es wird zukommen, a Reze Meshubach. Bei Meile, da die erste Sache, sobald er mich gefühlt sich in der Eis Rotzen, na jem Sgule, jem Uledes, man soll geben, will man wünschen, jedem einem von uns, von euch, von allem zusammen, die alle Broches, was der Rebbe gibt in der Jem Uledes, is die alle Broches, die der Rebbe Itzter, bei Jeser Seis und bei Jeser Oz, bei Meile soll der alle Broches mit Kuyen werden, bei Miluam, mit der alle Inyonim, in Teva Nire und Nigle, sein Inyonim Aprotim, sein Inyonim Aklolim, und der Inyan Achi Kloli, als der Rebbe soll Peil sein, und so schon sein die Geule Schleime, bei Peil Mamesh, Dole Mato, Masorot Fochim, in Hanefum Fun, Beneichal Shom, in Apsochim und in Aswochim, mit den alle Inyonim, was wir alle warten, auf die Geule Schleime, so sein der Emeser, Freilacher, Pesach, Kosher, Vesameach, Lekol Echod Veechod, und zu alle Iden zusammen. Das Seder wird sein, als erste Sache wird mir sagen, ein Wort auf dem neuen Kapitel, wie bald er behebt ein Ton, dem Rebens neuen Kapitel, und es heißt immer ein Gromme, es war echt ein von viele. In Bemeile wird mir sagen, ein Wort, al Koponim Bekitzu, Rebens neuen Kapitel ist Moli Vegodush, da Ribo Inyonim, ich sehe das, was wir können reden und herumreden, wird reden eine Kude al Koponim, und später wird mir reden wegen die Inyonim von Tfiles, von Chag Pesach, בהמשך zu der Friedrich Schir. Akolponim ist der erste Sache, der einzige Kapitel Kufchof Dalet, ist das ist ein scharfes Kapitel, das redet mit der dem Minyan Agolus, wir schreiben die Beforschim, und wir beten, also schon sein, Asof, der Rebischter soll nehmen Knesses Israel, und sie erreichen mehr von Golus. Wir reden wegen dem Rebischters Ashgoche Protis, was ist Maschgiach auf jeder Rieden, was Lule Hawaii, Shehoi Olonu, ja, also der Rebischter wird nicht gewöhnt, mit jedem einen, mit allem zusammen, in jedem Moment. In Golus ist, wie es maß wird weiter in der Hamschach von Yonim. Und der Pfarr ist Baruch Hawaii, wir danken dem Ebersten. Auf dem, was schon in der Sononu, Teref Leshineim, Nafshenu Kitzipernim Letom, Vepach Yekshim, da alle in Yonim, bis mir für Tois, es Reino, Veshem Hawaii, Shumayim Vorez, also wir verlosen, sagt mehr nicht bei dem Ebersten allein, wird uns erreichen von Golus. The Monzich I'm reading of English. Okay, so I'm asking sorry, and I'm getting start again. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to explain a word, a nikude in the Rebbe's new capital. We're starting today. So today we're starting capital Kuf of Dalet, beautiful capital, very profound. Very deep. The Rebbe, the capital over here speaks about the Inyan of Golus, of Am Yisrael, the suffering of Am Yisrael, asking the Eibishter should be with us, thanking the Eibishter that he's always with us in all the moments of Golus, and he's taking care of us. And Chas v'sholem, Lule Havaye, we wouldn't have the Eibishter with us in every moment, so whatever. And then we say Baruch Havaye. We thank the Eibishter that he watches over us, he guides us, and he takes care of us, and he makes sure that all the Saini Israel, all the Inyanim HaMevalvelim should break, should fall down, should get lost. And the Tzipor, which goes in Knesset Israel, yeah, the bird, which the bird is Knesset Israel, the Shechina, and in Am Israel, Knesset Israel is compared to that bird. So the Tzipor Nimleto, yeah, we escaped from all the Inyanim built at Tzuim, and we always remember that the Eibishter is with us. So one nikude al piderach Chassidus in this capital, like Chassidus always teaches us, that we are speaking about the Inyan of Golus. So there is two kinds of Golus. There is the Golus, the physical Golus, and there's the spiritual Golus. The Rebbe used to call it Golus Apnimi. There's the Golus Agashmi, and there's the Golus Apnimi. So of course the capital has both meanings. There's the Golus Agashmi from Yisraelim, which are chasing us. Kumaleinu Adam, which Adam goes on the Yisraelim, Adam de Blial, Adam de Klippe, Adam de Leumaze, the Adam of the Yisraelim, which are chasing Am Yisrael. and they want to, like it says weiter, yeah, but they want to swallow us, and the Eibishter is watching over us. And that's the Baruch Hashem, that he doesn't give, doesn't let the Goyim to Chas v'Sholem. Yeah, so that's our history. That's the history of Am Yisrael and Arichus Agolus. Like we say also in Pesach and the Agode, V'hi she'omdo, the V'chol V'doir, Oimdim Aleinu Lechaloiseinu. There's always Yisrael trying to get us, Chas v'Sholem, to raise us. When the Eibishter, he takes care of us, Shaleinu Sanon Terel V'Shineim, and he makes sure that his bird, which goes in Knesset Yisrael, Am Yisrael should be able to escape all the Inyanim HaMevaldim, which that's the idea of this capital and the physical Golus. But Chassidus also explains us the Inyan and the spiritual Golus, and since our Inyan, our Koilel, is a Koilel of Tfilah, so there's a beautiful explanation in Chassidus, yeah, which explains the whole capital regarding the Inyan of Avodas Tfilah. This is based on a Maimer of the Rebbe from Yutes Kislev, Tov Shin Chov Beis. The Maimer is a long Maimer, but the Nekude of the Biur in this capital is from the end, from the last few Prokim of the Maimer. Amazing Maimer, which the Rebbe over there goes into a Maimer Azoya, Osa Rab Shimon, which Rab Shimon speaks about the Giluyim of Leosid Love, compares Moshiach to the moon. And we see by the moon, there's the time the moon is dark, and then the moon becomes full of light. And al derech zeh, the Inyan of the Golus, Knesset Yisrael, Malchus, Melech HaMoshiach. So there's this manim of Golus, of Helem Esther and Cheshech. And from there, from the Golus, we come to the highest levels of the Geulah. The Rebbe explains it by Arichus in a very profound way. But the Rebbe connects it to the Inyan of the dreams. Like we know, Chassidus always explains, yeah, the Inyan of the dreams. Chaloim, the Golus is compared to a Chaloim. And when it comes to a Chaloim, so the Chassidus explains that Chaloim, there's a negative side to the Chaloim, and there's a positive side to the Chaloim. On one hand, Chaloim is the Inyan of fake, and a lot of bluff, a lot of not true situations, different mixes of things, whatever, that you don't see the reality, the chulei. On the other end, Davke the Chaloim brings a certain cure, a certain refuah. Like it says in the Maimorim that Chaloim comes from the word Vatachlimeini. Vatachlimeini, it means curing, healing. The Inyan of refuah. Through the Chaloim, the letters of the Chaloim, the mixing of the situations a person was thinking during the day, and then in the Chaloim makes the certain way of healing refuah. That's why the Gemara says that there's the Inyan of Davke having a Chaloim, and if you don't have a Chaloim, it's not a good siman, because the Chaloim ends up Davke doing a derech zeh, the Inyan of Golus. For one, and the Golus is a negative Inyan. The Chaloim of Golus, like Chassidus explains, that you're not, you daven and you're not there, and you have machshov v'zores and bilbulim. But in the end of the day, Davke through this halamet v'steirim bilbulim, and a person works on himself and he fights with the machshov v'zores and the bilbulim, Davke that makes vatachlimeini, he elevates the person and it brings him to a much higher level, that through the Chaloim HaGolus we come to the highest madreigas of the Giluim. There's many Maimorim Chassidus which explain the Inyan HaChaloim and Avodah. But that's not now the moment to get in the Barichus to that Nekude. Only to connect to this capital, it's amazing, like Chassidus explains it. So we're speaking about the Tzipor, to bring it down, Avodas Tfilah. Yeah, so the Rebbe explains in the Maimon, the Tzipor goes on the Neshamas Yisrael. Am Yisrael is compared to a Tzipor. The Inyan of a Tzipor is a bird, that the bird has the Inyan of the Tzipor HaMedaberes, like the Mizrit Magid says, that the bird is this kind of bird, the pirate, that's the way you call it, something like that, that the bird that speaks, says words, and the Tzipor HaMedaberes is Poyel Davke a major tainuk. The fact that there's a Tzipor that speaks, it's not a normal thing. And that Davke brings out a major tainuk by the Melech. The biggest melachim, the biggest chachamim, they see that tzipor hamedaberes, that word that says some words, even though he says very little words and he doesn't say them well, but the chidush, that a little word says words, that brings out a major tainuk. Pirate. Okay, fine. Good. Anyway, so that's the nekude of Knesset Yisrael. That Am Yisrael. We don't have the shames, begufim. We don't have the real beetle, the real avivire, the real dveikus. Yeah, like that little bird. And we say some words in davening, and we have a little iskavye and a little avede. But the chidush, that chidush, that anishame beguf is singing to the Eibishter, praying to the Eibishter, has such a major nachas ruach and timing with the Eibishter, which is higher than all the avedas of the biggest neshamas and malachim. So that inyan is the idea of tzipor. Knesset Yisrael is compared to tzipor, brings out a major happiness and timing by the Eibishter. That's why it's called tzipor also. It says in Chassidus and other Maimonim. The tzipor comes from the word tzachra, morning. Light of morning, a person after the night, he sees the light of the morning, so it gives him a simcha. Al derech zeh, the tzafra, the simcha, the Eibishter is from the Avidas Abirurim, that Ta'id is mevatel, is Yeshus in this place, in his Managolos. So that's the tzipor, Knesset Yisrael. But then the tzipor is found in a certain cage, in a certain pach. Yeah, the tzipor is in jail. What does it mean in Aveda? In Aveda it means that the neshama is farchapt through the Avedes, machshavas zores, machshavas hamevalveles, is farchapt in a certain cage of the klippe, v'sitrachve, taives elomaze, taives heter, taives isu, machshavas hamevalveles, ACS, which are grabbing on to the nefesh alikis, and they don't let the nefesh alikis to fly high up. And it comes to Avedas Atfile. That's the moment of the tzipor flying. Avedas Atfile is the zman that the neshama wants to fly high up and connect the likus. And there we have the Elam Esther of the Guven Nefesh HaBe'amis and the Taives and the Machshavas and the Mevalvelois. So that's the whole inyan we're saying in this kapitel, that the Eibishter, Baruch Havayim, the Eibishter is giving us the Keiches. Baruch Havayim, the Bracha v'Hamshachah comes from the Eibishter. Sheleines ononu teref leshineim. The Eibishter does not let the Shineim of Klippe, which that also has a whole beer, which not now the time to explain what is the idea of the Shineim, Davke Shineim, teeth, the letter Shin. Also in the Agodah Shel Pesach, we have the letter Shin, Haki Yeshino by the Rosh, to break his teeth. The same teeth we're speaking about here in this kapitel also, which the letter Shin is the letter that gives chayus to the klippe. Let's explain in the Maimorim of Basilegani. The Shin has that inyan that it's a chayus from Kedusha, which comes into the klippe. Rosh has the Shin in the middle, and when you break the Shin, take out the Shin, so only the Ra is left, and the Ra is left, he doesn't have a kiyum. The Ra can only have a kiyum when he has a likus. But the second you do tshuve, you take away the nitzutz, you take away the Shin. So that of leshineim, it's like breaking his teeth, taking away the Shin. So the Ra itself, without godliness, doesn't have a kiyum, and that's why apach nishbor v'anachnu nimlotnu. That's the idea we're saying here. Yeah, the nafshenu ketzipor nimleto. When Ayid comes to davening, after he did Krish Meshalamite the night before, and he was doing tshuva, and he comes to davening and he connects to the Eibishter, so the Eibishter gives us the keiches, the pach nishbor, the helen ve'ester from the nefesh habahamis, the pach. Yeah, breaks. The nefesh alikis is able to escape the whole alomes vestedim, chumri yiselum and to connect to likus, and that's the way we go get out of our golus. Baruch Havaye oise shomayim v'oretz. Yeah, Ezreinu ve'im havayis shomayim v'oretz. The Eibishter is giving us the keiches to rule over shomayim v'oretz and change nature, that everything should work the way the Eibishter wants. So that's a little nekude in the Rebbe's kapitel. We're starting today, and we should see it in Boso, say in the Geule Pnimis from the Golus Haruchnis and Avedas Hatfile, and say in the Geule Aklolis, in the Geule Amitis Vashleimo, should Zayin Bepeil Mamish, the Zreinu Abishem Avayis Shomayim Boris. Now we're going to get into the inyan of the Maimer is from Tavshin Chov Beis Yutes Kislev. People asked in the group. Okay, weiter. Now we're going to get into the inyan of the davenings of Pesach. Yeah, so like Rabbi Raskin spoke about the halachas of davening, and certain minogim, and certain inyanim. So we're going to speak more about the Chassidus inyan and Avodas HaTfilah. So first I'm going to speak about a general nekude and the tefillas of the Yomim Tovim. Yeah, the Godesh of Pesach has Baruch Hashem thousands of Yurim and Sfarim and explanations, and that's not the nekude of our shir. We are speaking about the tefillas, the special davening of Shalosh Regalim. The davening of Shalosh Regalim is mainly, there is the inyan of the Nusach HaTfilah, which has special in Shalosh Regalim, is mainly the Tfilah Shmeina Esrei, which we have over there, the Nusach of the bracha, special bracha, we say in Shalosh Regalim. Yeah, Sai in Tfilas Shacharis, and Sai in Tfilas Musaf. There's a special bracha that we're saying in Shalosh Regalim. Yeah, and then there's also inyan of Hallel of Shalosh Regalim. Also, we have in Pesach, the first day of Pesach, we have Tfilas Tal. So, of course, we're not going to be able to speak about all the pratim. There's a lot of Gishmak in Yonim Chassidus, but at least to catch on to the Nekude Klolis, what is going on, what is the meaning of the Tfilah of Shalosh Regalim. We'll speak about this, and we will have more time. Maybe we'll mention another few Nekudes in different prayers and different davenings and different chalokim of the davening. First, we speak about a general lineage. We see in the Tfilah Shalosh Regalim, in all the Tfilahs, we start with the Ato Bechartonu, beautiful Ato Bechartonu Nusach, the Lubavitch will know it from the Nigun. But if you think to the words, it's amazing, every 3-4 words brings out another depth of love, yeah, that the Eibishter shows to Am Yisrael. And then we say, Vatiten Lonu, Hashem Elokeinu B'Yavo, yeah, bringing you as Yomim Tovim, and then we speak about the special Yom Tov of this Yom Tov. This is here. This is now Pesach, Mancher Huseinu, and then there's the Yalav V'Yovei, yeah, amazing brachas in Yalav V'Yovei, and then we also continue with Vasienu, yeah, Vasienu Hashem Elokeinu. Rabbi Raskin spoke about what's the translation of Vasienu. So we're going to speak about a little bit about Chassidus in this. So first of all, what's going on in this tefillah? What are we saying over there? What's the kavanah of the tefillah of Shalosh Regalim? So the Alter Rebbe explains in Likutei Torah, in a few Maimorim, it's explained in different places of Chassidus. He says this Nekude, what is exactly Yom Tov? To understand what's going on in the tefillah of Yom Tov, we have to understand what exactly is Yom Tov V'chlal, and then Yom Tov and Pesach, Bifrat. But first of all, V'chlal Yom Tov. So we know that Yom Tov is called Mikra Kodesh. Not like Shabbos, but Shabbos is called Kodesh. Ushmartem es Shabbos ki Kodeshi. Shabbos is Kodesh, Yom Tov is only Mikra Kodesh. Which Mikra means like calling, yeah, calling out from Kodesh. It's Ha'ore v'Hamshoche, but it's not the Kodesh itself, it's only a Mikra calling out from Kodesh. The Zohar explains it by Arichos. Also, we find the difference between Shabbos and Yom Tov. The Shabbos, there's no mitzvah of simcha. There's all arichus, we have simchaschem ila shabbosis, bepashtus. Yeah, alpin nigle, the inyan of Shabbos is the iker oinig, not so much simcha. Mashaink in Yom Tov is mitzvah simcha. Ad kedikach, also halachically speaking, we all know that mitzvah of Yom Tov is davke besimcha, alpin deiraisa. Yeah, that's why you have to drink wine and bosso, whatever. If they rise in the Rabbanon today, the ale dinim was ifarani v'somachtu b'chagecho. Shabbos doesn't have this halacha. Shabbos is the mitzvah of einig and not simcha. Yeah, what is the difference between einig and simcha? And what is the difference between kodesh and mikra kodesh? So Chassidus explains, yeah, in Kabbalistic terms, Shabbos is the level of chokhmah. Yom Tov is the level of bina. In other words, the revelation of godliness, Shabbos and Yom Tov, is a major Gilui Elikus. The reason why Shabbos and Yom Tov we don't work, yeah, is because there's a Gilui of the Eibishter, and since there's a special Gilui of the Eibishter, so you don't work, yeah, because when you're standing in front of a king, you don't do things. You're standing with a bittul. Nevertheless, there's a big difference between Shabbos and Yom Tov. Shabbos, you're standing in front of the Eibishter with a major level, higher level of bittul. Chochmeh, koyach ma, bittul b'metzius. That's why Shabbos you're not allowed to do any work, not even Eichel Nefesh. Masha'enke in Yom Tov also is Galus of the Melech, but in Aloyam Madrege, the level of Bina. That's why Eichel Nefesh is Mutter. Other Melachas are also. But in general, Sai Shabbos, Sai Yom Tov, the idea of Chochmah Ubina, it's not Stam Sfiris, Madreges, Kabbalistic things. It's a revelation of the Eibishter. Shabbos and Yom Tov is a special day. Sai and Sur Merah not doing melachas. Ashgocha Parot is the Rambam these days speaks about Hilchos Shabbos. Sai the Inyan of Asay Tov, heading in Tainug, heading in Simche. The real Pnimis the Inyan is because there's a Isgalus of the Eibishter. There's a Isgalus of the Shechina, which you don't have it on a regular day. In a regular day, there's a tzimtzum, a Esther. You're standing outside of the king's palace, and that's why you have to work. It's a different aveda, milchame, birurim, fighting with Elamazeh. When it comes to Yom Tov, when it comes to Shabbos, Ayid is going out of the birurim, out of the milchames, out of the nitzaitzes. He's standing in front of the melech. Standing in front of the melech, that brings a major tainug and a major simcha. And here comes the difference between Shabbos and Yom Tov. By the way, there's a tale of the Baal Shem Tov. The Rebbe brought it also a few times. Baal Shem Tov brings a moshel to explain the simcha of Shabbos and Yom Tov. Why are we making such a seudes? Yeah, it's a spiritual simcha. Gilo Elikus. Why are we making so much emphasizing the Gashmizik things? So the Alter Rebbe explains, the Baal Shem Tov explains, the moshel, the Kitzo, the Ben Melech that he was found in jail. And then he got a letter from his father, and he was very happy that his father remembers him, and he wanted to dance and sing, but he was feeling that if he's going to start dancing his tamas in the middle of the day, the people are going to look at him as Hamshigina. So he brought some vodka, he gave them to drink to the other people that are sitting in the jail, and they started dancing because of the Chaim the drank, and he was dancing because he had a letter from the king, and he's a Ben Melech. Al derech zeh says the Baal Shem Tov, comes Shabbos, comes Yom Tov, the Neshama wants to sing and dance to the Eibishter. The Neshama feels Gila Likus, but the Guf is in jail, he doesn't get it, so you give him some food, you give him seudes, in order he shouldn't disturb, it should also become part of the Simcha, but the main Simcha is the Simcha of the Nefesh Alikis, which is Sameach of the Gila Likus. That's the tale of the Baal Shem Tov. The Nekuda Sa'inyan in Avede, when it comes to Yom Tov, which is the Gilui of Bine of the Eibishter, Mikra Kodesh, Chassidus explains, Kodesh is Chachma, Kodesh Mila Begarmi, Kodesh is a holy word, the holiness in its essence. It's the holiness in its essence, which is Chachma, Koyachma, Bitul B'Mitzias. That's Shabbos. That's why Shabbos, when you're standing in a Bitul B'Mitzias, Kodesh Mamish, so not only there's no work, also there's no Simcha. There's einik, pleasure. The difference in pleasure and simcha, pleasure is a very deep, profound feeling, yeah, of the late, of an ergish, of dveikus, but it's not beis galus. Yeah, that's the idea of einik. Einik is a certain hergish of pnimi, which is very hidden inside the person. Maybe his face is shining, but from outside, there's no expressions of moving his feet and his hands and clapping and dancing, because it's a more dakisdike, ruchnisdike hergish. Masha'enke simche is a ispashtus. Simche is a israchus. Simche is when you dance and you move and you sing. That's the idea of simche. That's the written enig of simche. And that's the nekude. Shabbos, these galus of the Eibishter is of the level of Chochme Koyachma Bitl B'Metzias. Shabbos, Ayid is able to connect to the Madrega of Elikus, which is beyond Elomes Koyachma Bitl B'Metzias. You can get to such a high level of Bitl, and that's why Davke B'Chitzenis, there's no Simcha, Davke Einik. Yeah, it's a deeper Madrega in connection, but from outside there's less Metzias, less Ispashtus, less Israchus. Masha'enke in Yom Tov is verkehrt. Yom Tov, the Isgalus of the Melech is more not nur of Bine. Bine is Archove, Rechove is Anor, river, Spashtus of Elikus. So the Moshel, which the Alter Rebbe brings in Lekutei Teire, Shmini Atzeres, he said, the Melech, the Moshel of a Melech. So when the Melech is hidden, no one sees him. But Mizman Lezman, when it comes Mani Asimche, so the Melech comes out, and he's Mizgale to the nation, he's Mizgale to the Am. So that brings a major simcha. and all the people know that the Melech is coming out to them, he's standing there, he's Galus, so this Galus HaMelech, so that brings a major Simcha Peiret together, breaks the boundaries between the Melech and the Am, and the Meile, that is Me'era by the Am, a Simcha G'doyle B'Yeser, and that Simcha comes with a Rash Godel, opposite of Eineg, which Eineg is Davke in a very silence, Tnuhe Nefesh. Mashenke Simcha is Berash Godel. Al derech, like we say about Malachim, that they find him and they see these galus, Davke because they're not so used to it. So by they find him, which is on a lower level of Serafim, and they see these galus of the Melech, that makes by the Marash, Godel, Misnasim, Leumas, Serafim, and they scream and they yell, Baruch Kved Hashem, Al derech Zeh, the Gilui of Yom Tov. These galus of Yom Tov, Yadim LeSimcha, the Eivish does in his galus to Am Yisrael, he shows them a revelation of Simcha. And the Alter Rebbe explains that that's the difference between Kol Hashana Kulo and Yom Tov. Kol Hashana Kulo, there also has to be Aveda B'Simcha. Ivdos Hashem B'Simcha every day. But Kol Hashana Kulo, the Simcha is Beiskasya. The Simcha is hidden. The Golui, the person is busy in Avedas Hashem. Mitzvahs, Birurim, Aveda. So the Aveda is Begolui, the Simcha is Behelem, Behester. It's not Begilu. Because the Melech also is Behelem. Iskasya. Masha'inken Yom Tov, the Melech comes out, the Iskasya, the Bina, the Isgalus of the Melech, Alma the Iskasya, comes out Begilui. So the Melech shows is the major Tainug and Ave, love and Simcha that he has with Am Yisrael, with his nation. So by Mayim Aponim Leponim, that brings out a major love and Simcha and Tainug and Ave from the nation to the Melech, and that is the union of Avodas Hatfilah of Yom Tov. So based on this biur, we understand what's the teichen of the Nusach HaTfilah of Yom Tov. Special Pesach. I'm going to soon explain why special Pesach. But first, Bechlal Yom Tov. That's the Nekude. If you look into it, that's mamish word for word. That's what we're saying in the Nusach HaTfilah, the Tfilah Shalosh Regolim. We're speaking about the Golui. What's the whole concept of the Tfilah of Shalosh Regolim? Like we said, Ato bechatonu, vatiten lonu, yale v'yove, v'asiyenu. Yeah, if you look into the words of the tefillah, there's the nekuda. What are we saying? The Eivishter loves and chooses and he shows his kiru to Am Yisrael. That's the whole yesod of tefillah shalosh regalim. Yeah, Ato bechatonu mikol amim, v'afto isonu, v'rotzisonu bonu. All different kinds of expression, yeah, of love and relationship and dveikus that the Eivishter has, and the Eivishter elevates us from all the nations, and he makes us holy, yeah, and he brings us close to his Avodas Hashem. When B'Shimcha Godel VaKodesh, that's even the biggest. The Rebbe once said that in the Nusach V'Chatonu, each line goes deeper and deeper, higher and higher. And the highest nekuda is B'Shimcha Godel VaKodesh Aleinu Koros. That the Eibishter calls his name on us, Amavai, yeah, the Eibishter's nation, yeah, Elikeinu is ours. Bechlal, yeah, the Nusach of Tfilah Shalosh Regolim, if you want to have the Chassidus outlook, Chassidus approach, understanding in the Nusach of Tfilah Shalosh Regolim, this is the idea of the Prakim in Tanya, Perik Memvov, Memzayim, Memches, Memtes, the famous Parakim that the Alter Rebbe speaks about the Ave Kamayim Aponim Leponim. The famous Moshel the Alter Rebbe brings over there, brings that the Melech, Godel ben Rom, the major Melech, which leaves everything on a side, and and he himself goes down to the poor man, which is mutal be'ashpa and garbage, and he takes him out, and he pulls him out, and he cleans them up, and he grabs them on, and he gives them the hug and the kiss, v'chule, the all yichud between the melech and the ish pashut, which kamayim aponim leponim. The Alter Rebbe says, yeah, how much love that brings out from the person, the simple person, to the melech, to the great melech. Which al derech zeh is the yin of Yitzias Mitzrayim and Matan Teire, which be'etzem, that's the nekuda of Yom Tov. When it comes to Yom Tov, especially Pesach, Yitzias Mitzrayim, what is the Isbeidenus in these days? The Isbeidenus, like the Alter Rebbe explains in Perik Memvov, Memzayim, Memches, and Memtes, that the Isbeidenus in the inyan of Yitzias Mitzrayim, how the Eivishter went down in himself, lo yalidei malach, lo yalidei sorov, lo yalidei sholiach, Me, myself, the Eibishter, without any shluchim and malachim, he came down the Ervas Haaretz, and he pulled out Am Yisrael from the lowest and the lowest of the lowest, and he brought us to himself, and he gave us the Teire, v'chule. That's the Isbeidenus of Kamayim Aponim Leponim. This is the Nekuda we're saying in Shmoneh Esrei. And the Alter Rebbe speaks in Perik Mem Zayin, and he says, this Nekuda is not only history, 3,330 whatever, years ago. This is something that is happening now. The whole day, the whole yem, every day, every moment. There's the Yetzias Nefesh Alikis from the Meister Aguv Nefesh Abamis, like we said before. It's Nafshenu Ketzipo Nimleto. The Yechiles of the Nefesh Alikis, escaping of the Nefesh Abamis and connecting to the Eibishter, saying Shema Yisrael. That's the whole point of Avodas Atfilah, the Kamayim Aponim Leponim. So that's the Mahus, that's the Nekude of Tfilah Shalosh Regalim. Based on this, we continue. Now we understand also. It's amazing. If you look in Tanya, Perik Mem Zayin, the Alter Rebbe brings the words of the Tfilah Shalosh Regalim. One of the psukim the Alter Rebbe brings in Perik Mem Zayin to explain, the greatness of the Yetzias Mitzrayim b'chol yom v'yom. The Alter Rebbe explains that Yerusha u'matono ilonu, that the Eibishter gave us that present, that heritage, that Yerusha Matana, that the Eibishter gave us the Teire, and in the Teire, the Eibishter hat reingegeben himself, his essence, his Mahus, his in his Teire. So the Alter Rebbe says, which pasuk does the Alter Rebbe bring? Vatiten lodnu Hashem Elokeinu v'yavo. That's the Nusach the Alter Rebbe brings. Nusach of Tfilah Shalosh Regalim. That's exactly what we're saying of you. And the Alter Rebbe has his explanation, his original explanation to the Nusach HaTfilah. Vatiten lodnu Hashem Elokeinu v'yavo. You were not saying that the Eibishter gave us v'yavo v'yadim l'simcha. The Alter Rebbe's biur is Vatiten lonu Hashem Elokeinu. The Eibishter gave us himself. Hat sich Vatiten lonu. What did the Eibishter give us? Hashem Elokeinu. He gave us his own Hashem Elokeinu, his Anoichi, his essence. He gave us away. Be'avo, mitzad de'ave, but the Eibishter loves Yidden. He gave at sich allein, his essence. He gave away in his Teire. And Memele, ein adavar tolu yelo berotzen, like the Alter Rebbe continues saying, the moment you want, you accept, you want to be part of that yichud, so right away you're there. Miyad sheroitze mekabel, that is the nekudah of Tfilah Shalosh Regalim. Why are we saying that in Pesach, this inyan is even in a deeper way? What's about Pesach Davke? So the nekuda is, like the Alter Rebbe explains in a different place, that Pesach, Shavuos, and Sukkot is Keneged Avraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov. Pesach Keneged Avraham, like it says in the story of Lushi V'Asiyugos, which was the of Matzes. Shavuos is Keneged Yitzchak, Eilo Shel Yitzchak, the Shofar, Matan Torah, and the union of Yaakov, Rachmim. Ayova Yaakov Sukkesa, which goes on Sukkos. So B'meile, those are three madreges in Avodas Hashem. Keneged the three inyanim of Teira Avodah Gbilus Chasodim. Kav HaChesed, Kav HaAved, is the inyan of Pesach. Kav HaAved, Gvure, is the inyan of Matan Torah, Shavuos, Yitzchak, and the Kav of Teira is Yaakov. Sometimes it says the Teire, whatever, there's different ways. How does it explain the Chassidus and even Maimorim? How does it work with the Yomim Tovim? The Derech Klal, it's Avraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov. Yaakov is Teire, whatever. So what's the Nekuda about Pesach? Pesach is the Aveda of Avraham, which Avraham is Aved. And that's why the Iker Aveda in Chag Pesach is to be Me'era de Aved. That's why the Tfilah of Pesach has to be with that Kavanah, even more than other Yomim Tovim. To be me'era the ave kamayim aponim leponim. When you misbeinen in the inyan of Yetzias Mitzrayim, and you tell the story of Yetzias Mitzrayim, you misbeinen the major ave the Eibishter shows to Am Yisrael in Yetzias Mitzrayim, and like we said before, v'chol der v'chol yom v'yom, so me'era kamayim aponim leponim, that brings out the major ave which we have to the Eibishter. Like the Alter Rebbe explains that this is also the reason we say Hallel. which Hallel also brings out that love. One more nekude in the tefillah of Shalosh Regolim is the V'asiyenu. V'asiyenu Hashem Elokeinu. Rabbi Raskin gave some beauty in what's the word V'asiyenu. Meforshim wie sagt man, mimatert sich, try to understand what is the translation of the word V'asiyenu. So it's interesting that the Alter Rebbe in the Likutei Torah, the Alter Rebbe brings the translation of the word Ve'asiyenu, the meaning of marriage, Loshen Nisuin. Ve'asiyenu Hashem Elokeinu es birkas meyadecha. The Alter Rebbe explains that this all inyan we just explained, this is the idea of Nisuin. Yeah, the connection between Knesset Yisrael and HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The Zman of Chagim, Zman HaMiyadim, is the Zman of Nisuin. This is the Zman where there is a Ve'asiyenu, like we said before in Perek Mem Zayin. Yeah, the Yichud Niflo, Nosan Lonu Es Atzmo, the real Yichud, Perek Mem Vov, the Alter Rebbe says. Yeah, that the inyan of Mayitzias Mitzrayim and the Matan Torah is like Odom HaMekadesh Es Ishtoi. That's why it's Loshen Kiddusha, Loshen Kiddushin. The Odom HaMekadesh Es Itzmei, Lio Es Achodim and Meyuchodim. Yeah, and that's the Yichud which comes afterwards, which every mitzvah is Yad Yamin and Yad Shmoel Ve'aguf. Yeah, the Alter Rebbe explains that in Perek Mem Vov Mem Zayin in Tanya. So it comes out that the Ve'asiyenu, here the Taich al Chassidus is that the Eibishter should make the marriage takish, we should have the nisuin. Let's explain the Chassidus that there shouldn't be only a chitzenis relationship, yeah, which can be only a chitzenis. We should have the real pnimis relationship. That's the main inyan in Aveda of Yomim Tovim. There's also another biur in the Maim of the Alter Rebbe that Ve'asiyenu is also like we mentioned that in the previous year. Ve'asiyenu takim miloshen drogen, wie sagt man, to carry something. Yeah, Ve'asiyenu like a muscle. Yeah, so the Alter Rebbe says in a different Maimer that Ve'asiyenu Hashem Elokeinu is that the Eibishter should give us, yeah, that muscle, that Giloy Elikus that we get in Chag Pesach, and with this Giloy we live with it still the next Yom Tov. It's explained in Chassidus that the Yomim Tovim are not stam disconnected from the whole year. The Yomim Tovim are all connected together, bind together. Each Yom Tov you get a revelation, you get a Chayus, you get that Bittul, you get that Giloy Elikus, that love, and that love, that Giloy, that also goes with you till the next Yom Tov, the next Yom Tov, the next Yom Tov. Like this, Ayid is a whole year. So that's what we're saying. Ve'asiyenu, ve'atinenu, atinenu loshen mitan, loshen Pekel. The Rebbe does uns geben on, so like the famous expression which is brought always in Fabrengens. The Rebbe would say always, yeah, that about Tishrei. The same idea is also about Nisan. Yeah, when it comes to Yom Tov is like when a person goes to a shopping center or whatever, he goes to a place and he buys a lot of stuff and he fills up his pekel, and then he goes and he brings it with him wherever he goes. Al derech zeh is the inyan of Asiyenu that the Eibishter gives us keiches, and with those keiches we go all year around to serve the Eibishter v'simcha b'tug libo. So this is to get a certain v'mizog, a certain taste of understanding the Reichkeit, the Geschmack, and Davening. The Peil Mamish, she comes to Yom Tov, people are running, so Yoktzach, Simchas Yom Tov, but, and also there's a whole Indian about saying Halal B'tzibur, not a simple thing. So, what I suggest, someone wants to do davening with a little more kavone. So one of the solutions that Rebbe writes also sometimes is maybe to start a little earlier. Like this, you can get more time to connect to davening. But anyways, the Rabbi also writes in other letters that if you started with the minyan and then you lost the minyan in the middle, it's also good. The Eibishter will forgive you, and it's also considered as tefillah v'tzibur. Yeah, the main thing is to say those words with a little more kavanah, especially when we know what Chassidus teaches about the teichen of the tefillahs. So it gives it a different depth, a different geschmack, a different reichkeit, a different ziskkeit. I'm going to finish with one story. Yeah, the Rabbi Raskin mentioned about the Inyan of Hallel, the night of Pesach. Maybe it's a famous story, but anyway, it's a Shmaki story. Yeah, he mentioned the Inyan of saying Hallel the night of Pesach. That there was a machlekes And the Rama says that you don't say it. And the Ashkenazim don't say it. Lepeil, the Baal Shem Tov, was manik, that Chassidim do say it, and that's why we say the Hallel the first night, the second night, v'chulei. So there's a story. People say Agishmaki Maise, they say in time of the Alter Rebbe. So we know that in time of the Alter Rebbe, there was still not two shuls. There was only one shul. And each keile to fight, find places, find ways how to make sure shouldn't be problems with the Muhammad's that would be in those days. So Lepoyel, what the story was that there was a psakile that they used to wait till the whole community finished, and then the Chassidim would go in afterwards and they do the davening. And there was a condition they made with the people of the shul that they're not going to say Hallel Leil Pesach. Kamuvan, the Chassidim didn't listen to the condition, and they waited that everybody should go away. And then they made the davening, and they did the Hallel Leila Pesach with a major simcha, with the Sasna Simcha La Yehudim. The people of the shul, the Balabatim, they found out that the Chassidim davened with Hallel, and it was all Maise. What says against the Ramah? The Ramah says that B'mdineseinu ein nayagim loima Hallel Leila Pesach. Eresh Ramah. We kultus Chassidim going against the Ramah. We are doing like the Ramah. That's the minig Ashkenazim. Bekitza sie geworden a greiser Tummel in Stettel, and till in the end became ad inteire, they came to the Alter Rebbe. And they said the Alter Rebbe is going to say what he explains about Nigle. The Alter Rebbe knows the halachas also. He's going to explain us what's the story. So they came to the Alter Rebbe and he told them what's going on, the two sides, what they did. And then the Alter Rebbe told them, when you read the halacha, you also have to know with which melody to sing the halacha. You have to know when the Ramah wrote the halacha, you have to know which nigun to sing it. Yeah. So who told you when the Ramah wrote B'midinaseinu, Ein noyagim loimar Hallel B'leila Pesach? He wrote it with a chayis, with a simcha, with a nigun of simcha. Maybe he wrote it with a tnuya meridus. Yeah. Nebach, B'midinaseinu, was on meton, Ein noyagim. Was on meton in our medinas, we don't do it. So the Ram also wanted. So if you know how to sing that line, so you know if you should listen to it, you shouldn't. That's one of the stories Sidney used to say that Alter Rebbe answered that question. Yeah. Anyway, so that's about the Hallel Leila Pesach. The Rikeri is the Nachasach was zu reden, aber Akoponim Avort von Avede von Chassidus and the Nusach Hatfile. So I hope we said something, and the Nikuda saying is we should all have a Freilach kosher and Freilach and Pesach. Yeah, Rabbi Leivik says that kosher goes on the matzahs and Freilach goes on the yain. We should have the kosher matzahs and kosher yain, and then we have Taka the Chochmah with the Bina together. So that's a whole other sugya. We didn't have time to get into it. That my Morim explained that since Yom Tov is Bina, and Bina Taki is beautiful, it's Simcha, but Simcha can also lead to Plishtim, to Yeshus. That's why we need to eat the matzahs together with the Yom Tov, in order there should be a bittul in the Simcha, which that's the union of matzahs and yain. Matzahs is Chochmah, yain is Bina, and through connecting Chochmah Bina, that's the real way to serve the Eibishter, to have the Taki, the Ispashtus, Amitzius, from one end, the Asogye, and the Simcha, and from the other end, there shouldn't be Yanikas Achitzenim. There should be like the real bittul to the Eibishter, was the Lama Kosher and Freilach and Pesach, und wir sollen sagen, dem Reben, mit uns, da lemato, masorat Tfachim, vehu yigoleinu.
Amen. Shkoyach. Chag Kosher Sameach.
Shkoyach.
Yom Tov.